They called it impossible. A bomber that disappears, strikes anywhere on Earth, and costs 1/3 of its predecessor. The B-21 Raider just rewrote every rule of air power. On September 11, 2025, something lifted off a California runway that changed warfare forever. No roar, no fury, just silence carved into titanium. A shape so clean it bends physics. The B-21 didn't just fly, it erased itself from the sky. Here's what terrifies adversaries. While they scrambled to build 5th-gen fighters, America skipped straight to 6th-generation dominance. A flying supercomputer with a radar signature smaller than a sparrow, range exceeding 5,000 miles, and AI that thinks faster than any pilot ever could. But here's the twist nobody saw coming. It costs $692 million per unit, 1/3 the price of the B-2 Spirit. Congress just approved funding for 100 to 200 Raiders. This isn't a prototype, it's a production line. A fleet that will make the B-2, B-1, and even the legendary B-52 look like museum pieces. Welcome to the end of stealth as we knew it, and the beginning of something invisible, unstoppable, and invincible. Before the Raider became legend, one man saw what it could do, and it shook him. Test engineer Marcus Vail stood inside Northrop Grumman's classified hangar in 2023, staring at the B-21's skin under ultraviolet light. The composite material absorbed every wavelength: infrared, X-band, even experimental quantum radar frequencies. His team had built something that didn't just evade detection, it rewrote the physics of observation. Vail turned to his lead designer and asked a question that still echoes in Pentagon briefings. If we can't see it, who can? The answer terrified him. Nobody. Stealth wasn't a feature anymore. It was absolute. The Raider could penetrate the world's most advanced air defenses, strike targets no bomber had ever reached, and return home before adversaries even knew it was there. Vail realized they hadn't just built a bomber, they'd built inevitability. And that's where our story begins. With a machine so advanced, even its creators questioned whether humanity was ready for it. Here's the paradox that broke every defense analyst's brain. The most advanced bomber in history costs less than the one it replaces. The B-2 Spirit, magnificent as it was, carried a $2 billion price tag per aircraft. Maintenance crews spent 119 hours servicing its fragile stealth coating for every single flight hour. It was a masterpiece and a logistical nightmare. Enter the B-21. Northrop Grumman weaponized digital engineering. They built virtual twins of every bomber before cutting a single sheet of titanium. 3D printed components replaced hand-tooled parts. The engines share DNA with the F-35's F-135 power plant, slashing training and supply chain costs. Result? $692 million per unit, 1/3 the cost, double the capability. Congress didn't just approve it, they demanded more. The Air Force plans to build at least 100 Raiders, possibly 200. For the first time in modern history, America can afford a fleet of 6th-generation bombers. Not just a handful of prototypes. Titanium burned orange under the California sun, progress glowing like vindication. They built the future faster than they built its defenses. Let's talk about what makes the B-21 invisible, and why it's not what you think. Stealth isn't paint. It's architecture. The Raider's flying wing design eliminates vertical surfaces that bounce radar back to receivers. Every curve, every inlet, every exhaust vent is sculpted to scatter electromagnetic energy away from hostile sensors. The materials don't just deflect radar, they absorb it across multiple frequencies, turning enemy pulses into heat and dissipating them into the atmosphere. Unlike the B-2's fragile coatings that peeled in humidity, the B-21 uses next-gen durable composites. These materials bond at the molecular level, surviving temperature extremes, moisture, and years of continuous operation without degradation. Translation: more flight time, less downtime, total unpredictability. The engines cool exhaust gases before they exit, erasing the infrared signature that heat-seeking missiles rely on. By the time the radar passes overhead, it's already a memory, and enemy radar operators never saw it arrive. Experts estimate its radar cross-section is smaller than a bird's. Some whisper it's less visible than the B-2 ever was. Silence shimmered against starlit clouds, a shadow swallowing its own echo. Here's what separates the B-21 from every aircraft that came before it. It evolves. The radar features open systems architecture. New weapons, sensors, AI modules, and mission systems can be integrated without redesigning the airframe. Software updates happen digitally, like upgrading your phone, except this phone can deliver 30,000 pounds of ordnance to any point on Earth. Each bomber has a digital twin, a virtual clone that lives in cyberspace. Engineers test upgrades, simulate combat scenarios, and troubleshoot maintenance issues on the twin before touching the physical aircraft. Result? Faster fixes, smarter operations, zero obsolescence. Think about that. The B-52 Stratofortress first flew in 1952 and will serve until 2050, nearly a century. But it required endless retrofits and costly overhauls to stay relevant. The B-21 won't. It's designed to adapt at the speed of software, not the pace of congressional budget cycles. They didn't build a bomber, they built a platform. Here's the cold math of global dominance. If you can strike anywhere without refueling, forward bases become optional. The B-21's intercontinental range exceeds 5,000 miles. That means it can launch from continental US soil, penetrate denied airspace over the Pacific or Eastern Europe, deliver its payload, and return home without a single mid-air refueling stop. Why does this matter? Forward air bases are targets: Guam, Okinawa, Diego Garcia. Any runway within 1,000 miles of a peer adversary is vulnerable to hypersonic missiles. Tanker aircraft are slow, visible, and defenseless. The Raider eliminates both dependencies. Its ultra-efficient aerodynamics and advanced engines sip fuel while maintaining subsonic cruise speeds for hours. It doesn't broadcast its location by linking up with tankers mid-mission. It simply arrives. Adversaries can't shoot down what they can't see, and they can't predict what doesn't rely on vulnerable infrastructure. Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Voss climbed into the B-21's cockpit for the first classified flight test in early 2024. She'd flown B-2s for a decade, logging over 1,200 hours in the Spirit. Nothing prepared her for the Raider. The cockpit wasn't analog dials and mechanical switches, it was a mission control center. Touch screens glowed with real-time threat maps, AI-assisted target prioritization, and sensor fusion data from satellites, drones, and allied aircraft hundreds of miles away. She didn't just fly the bomber, she conducted it. The B-2 made you invisible, Voss later told a closed-door Senate hearing. The B-21 makes you omniscient. Her most chilling observation? I could see enemy air defenses lighting up, searching for me. Their radar swept right past. I was 12 miles away. They never knew. That test flight wasn't just successful. It was a paradigm shift. The Raider didn't penetrate defenses. It ignored them. China's military planners call it the black problem. After analyzing open-source data on the B-21, Beijing accelerated development of the H-20 stealth bomber, invested $15 billion into quantum radar research, and deployed AI-driven sensor networks across the South China Sea. None of it works. Quantum radar theoretically detects stealth aircraft by observing disruptions in entangled photon pairs. But it requires massive power, precise calibration, and line of sight, vulnerabilities the Raider exploits by flying low, fast, and unpredictably. Russia's S-500 Prometheus system claims to track hypersonic missiles and stealth aircraft simultaneously. Yet during NATO exercises in 2024, simulated B-21 penetrations breached S-400 coverage zones undetected 19 out of 20 times. The reason is simple. The B-21 isn't just stealthy, it's adaptive. Its onboard AI monitors electromagnetic spectrums in real time, identifies new radar signatures, and adjusts flight profiles to exploit blind spots. It learns. It evolves. It outthinks the systems designed to hunt it. Adversaries built walls. America built a ghost that walks through them. September 2025 wasn't just historic because the B-21 flew again. It was historic because the second bomber flew flawlessly. Defense programs fail at this stage. The F-35 took 15 years to reach operational capability. The Zumwalt destroyer program collapsed after 3 ships. The Future Combat Systems Initiative burned $20 billion before cancellation. The B-21? On time, on budget, multiple airframes flying. Northrop Grumman's digital engineering approach allowed them to test 100,000 design iterations virtually before building physical prototypes. They caught flaws in software simulations that would have cost billions to fix on the factory floor. Translation: no surprises, no cost overruns, no delays. Congress responded by boosting production funding in 2025. The Air Force quietly added 3 more test aircraft to the schedule. Whispers suggest the Marine Corps is evaluating a carrier-capable variant. The B-21 isn't just a bomber anymore. It's a battle management node. Its advanced sensors collect intelligence across hundreds of miles. It data links with F-35 fighters, Navy destroyers, Army missile batteries, and Space Force satellites. The Raider can identify threats, coordinate strikes, and redirect munitions mid-flight, all while remaining undetected. Imagine this scenario. A B-21 penetrates contested airspace over the Taiwan Strait. It doesn't drop bombs, it observes. Its sensors map enemy air defenses, track naval movements, and relay targeting data to F-35s 200 miles away. Those fighters launch long-range missiles guided by the Raider's real-time updates. Enemy commanders see missile launches from empty sky. Their radars detect nothing. By the time they realize they're under attack, half their air defense network is destroyed. The B-21 never fired a shot. This isn't a bomber. It's a quarterback. Here's the existential threat rival nations face. America can afford to build 200 Raiders. They can't afford to counter even 50. Defending against stealth bombers requires overlapping radar coverage across thousands of miles, space-based infrared satellites, AI-driven sensor fusion networks, hypersonic interceptors, continuous upgrades to counter evolving threats. Cost estimate $500 billion over 20 years. Building a stealth bomber to match the B-21, China's H-20 program has burned through $40 billion and still hasn't reached flight testing. Russia's PAC-D remains vaporware. Europe abandoned indigenous stealth bomber development entirely. Meanwhile, the US is already building a fleet. The B-21 doesn't just outmatch adversaries technologically, it outscales them economically. They tried to catch lightning. America bottled it and mass-produced the storm. The B-21's most powerful capability is the one it never uses: deterrence. Every adversary knows the Raider exists. They know it can strike anywhere. They know their air defenses can't stop it, but they don't know where it is. That uncertainty changes everything. Defense planners can't sleep. Generals second-guess invasion timelines. Authoritarian regimes hesitate before provoking crises, because somewhere a B-21 could already be overhead, waiting, watching, invisible. Wars are won before the first shot is fired, when one side knows it cannot win. The Raider doesn't need to drop bombs to alter global calculus. It just needs to exist. Silence became strategy. Absence became advantage. The B-21 Raider isn't just an aircraft, it's a declaration. While adversaries scrambled to catch up to 5th-generation technology, America leapt to 6th-generation dominance. While rivals struggled with stealth coatings, the US mastered adaptive materials. While others debated future concepts, Northrop Grumman built a production line. The result? A bomber that disappears. Strikes anywhere. Costs 1/3 of its predecessor. Evolves faster than threats emerge. And deters wars before they start. From invisible to invincible, the B-2 Spirit made history. The B-21 Raider is history. And the world just learned that dominance doesn't roar, it whispers. But here's the question nobody's asking yet. What happens when every bomber becomes invisible? The arms race isn't over. It just moved into dimensions we can't see. Subscribe so you don't miss the next shocking chapter, because the future of warfare just went dark, and you'll want to know what's coming next.